The civilized man is a more experienced and wiser savage. What does this mean, and what do we need to be able to become renewed? What does it mean to give up what we think we need to be okay to find out who we truly are? This is what we discuss today as we continue our series on Henry David Thoreau here on Circle Theory.
That's what it's gotta be this time. Yeah. Sun starts to set and the moon should rise.
So Thoreau is interested in what it takes to become renewed, to be able to be born as a new individual, to sacrifice the old, so that we can really come to understand who it is that we are. He says, I am one to think that men are not so much the keepers of herds, as herds are the keepers of men. The former are so much freer. And that's an interesting point. He suggests that those in the field, that those that we herd, the animals, have a greater freedom than those of us that keep them. In all reality, what he's suggesting is that we have become slaves to trying to hold on to these different things that don't actually provide us any happiness or freedom. We have become stuck in a never-ending cycle and circle that has kept us stuck in where we are, left us without the ability to engage in what it is that will actually bring value to our lives. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation, he says. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation, that we have just given up. We are just waiting for retirement. We are just waiting for our time to end. And he sees this as a great issue, that we have lost our ability to feel freedom, to be able to soar and enjoy what life has to offer for us. From the desperate city, you go into the desperate country and have to console yourself with the bravery of minks and muskrats. So what he's suggesting here is that we have to throw off the things that we think we need, the luxuries and the comforts and the air conditioning and the phone and the social media and the YouTube and everything, and that we must cast that off and go out into nature to find out who we actually are, that we must be removed from these things. And this takes bravery, and this takes courage. It takes courage to create. This is something we talk a lot about on this series. And so he continues these ideas. He says, a stereotype but unconscious despair is concealed even under what are called the games and amusements of mankind. There is no play in them, for this comes after work. But it is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. This is where the hero's journey begins for Campbell. He suggests that we must break away from the status quo. But really what we're looking at here is that we have become desperate, that we work all day so that we can go home and just hopefully get a little bit of relief, that we're stuck in a never-ending cycle of work and life that doesn't actually bring us any joy. And renewal is what we need. We need to become renewed and fresh and experience who we are. We've seen this a lot and discussed in modern culture, right? I mean, we have books like Eat, Pray, Love and all these different things that are about going out, but he thinks that this requires no gurus, no secular priests of the psyche, no handbooks with maps tracing alternative paths to nirvana. We don't need any of that. We don't need these things to actually find ourselves, right? We don't need my channel or the self-help book or any of that. It is needed nothing more than discovering the essential life and living it, figuring out what gives your life value and living it to the truest, a very Aristotelian idea, right? And this is what his withdrawal to Walden means. It is a means and not an end. He never intends to stay here indefinitely. His goal is to go out into the nature, to find himself so that he can return and re-engage. And we see this noted by other individuals. He was very influenced by his work with Emerson, who remarked when asked at the table what dish he preferred, he answered the nearest. That it didn't need to be some special piece of china or fancy thing. He just needed what it was required to get by because he wasn't owned by his flatware and sets and tools. He wished for us to see the world for what it is, that they should simply live our lives and see and perceive with a new clarity. He wants us to be able to understand the value in our existence without needing all of these things we think we need to be okay. And he almost turns to a very Tolkien idea, where he talks about not until we are lost, in other words, not until we have lost the word, do we begin to find ourselves and realize that we are, and the infinite extent of our relations. And so it is in our connections, it is in our love and passion and ability to connect with other humans that we find out the meaning of our existence. And we don't need all of these superficial things. We need each other. At least that's what I take from this. And we need to be able to find our own meaning. And we need to brush off the things we think we need so that we can become renewed. We must give that stuff up. We must let go of our old life so our new one can find us, as Campbell would suggest. And so next week we pick up on the idea of living off your own labor as we continue our series on Thoreau here on Circle Theory. Thanks for watching this week's episode on Henry David Thoreau and his great work, Walden. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you learned today. We'd love to discuss it with you. And like always, see you next week as we continue our series. Catch you next time.